All right. I wanted to take a minute to get my Streamlabs all dialed in, getting ready to basically have some live streaming coming up this coming week. Dog Pound Radio. We're going to be live on Facebook and on this YouTube platform. And we're going to be live on, let's see, Wednesday night. We got softball at home. I believe it's against Davis County. And then Friday night, we'll be over at the baseball field, giving it our all for that. But anyway, just give me just a few moments to get things fired away here on, the podcast side of things. If you want to stay here and give us some chatting and things like that. If you're interested in talking to us, we are here for that. Bringing up Audacity to get everything live for. Let's see, I got to skip that. We're getting ready to rock and roll here. And again, welcome to the Chuck Banks Experience. My name is Chuck Banks, and I'll be your host this afternoon. It's Sunday. Today, I've been talking about burnout over the course of the last month or so on the program. And anyway, this thing called burnout, it also led me to a creation, believe it or not, of a book. And this book is it's actually out now. If you would like to order a book ahead of time, they're going to be $20 each, or you can get them on Amazon for 25, or you can get the Kindle version for $9.99. And the book is it basically talks about adult ADHD, and I'm here to tell you that if okay, if you have a husband who has ADHD, if you have a kid that has ADHD, a wife that has ADHD, whether or not you have this aspect of life, um, this book could help you out, and it could help out in all facets and relationships. But anyway, today we're talking about burnout feels different with ADHD, and it certainly does. If I look at how many times I had to basically kind of walk away, on the podcast and that sort of stuff, and basically getting started and firing that aspect up, it's definitely been it's been rather tough. And but again, you got to keep plugging. You got to keep plugging away and getting after it. Anyway, so hey friends, welcome to the Chuck Banks Experience, where we examine all facets of the universe, from the weird and strange to making our lives better. Note: to the views and opinions expressed on the Chuck Banks Experience are those of the guest and/or host, which today would be me. Today's topic is ADHD and me, where we talk about the real life experience living with adult ADHD, the wins, the weirdness, and the what the heck is my brain doing moments. Again, I'm Chuck Banks, and today we're diving into something that doesn't get talked about enough, and it's burnout. Not just burnout, but the burnout of the ADHD adult brain. Again, this is not just regular burnout, but how burnout hits differently when you have ADHD. If you've ever felt like you're on a treadmill going 90 miles per hour and trying to keep up and what feels like a normal life, this episode is for you. Again, share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. And you know what? If you can't catch this live stream, you can check us out on various different platforms. And Podbean is kind of our radio affiliate that we look at from this. YouTube, Coaching Culture and Athletics, and then the Chuck Banks Experience, or Dog Pound Radio on Facebook. So anyway, what is burnout with ADHD? Let's talk about it. Everyone gets overwhelmed, but ADHD burnout has layers. It's not just exhaustion, it's executive dysfunction, emotional flooding, and a total shutdown. So that executive dysfunction that takes place anytime that you're a little bit overwhelmed or things like that. The only way that I can really compare it, as far as what the brain sounds like, is imagine you go to Walmart, and Walmart's filled up with 5,000 people, and they're all talking at once, and you become overwhelmed immediately, and then that burnout phase hits, that emotional flooding, like, oh my God, fight, flight, whatever. Okay, I got to get out of this situation. And then eventually, if you're in that kind of a situation, It's weird. It's just kind of that total shutdown that takes place. For neurotypical people, burnout might come after a long stretch of stress. Okay, but for us, we can burn out from just trying to keep up with daily routines. And the book that I wrote, it's kind of my ADHD story, but the book itself is a little bit different. And in past Chuck Banks novels or books, it really dives in on trying to get the person, not just the person that's suffering from the ADHD, but the person that also, has to live, with these types of people. It's definitely helped out. It's definitely healed me as I've kind of hunkered down and wrote this book. And I'll be honest with you, it really hit home. It's very rewarding, but it's also very debilitating. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the burnout. Okay, daily routines, and this could be, guys, that merely starting tasks and then starting the next task, and then you forget about that, and then you start the next task, and you move forward in that manner. And anyway, masking, pretending that I'm okay when I'm not. And eventually, if you mask enough, and masking is definitely discussed in the book as well, but masking is one of these things where, not a lot of people out there, might say that, hey, man, you have ADHD, or, you're doing this and that and the other. No, masking is where, you appear to be okay when in retrospect you're not. Forcing structure, battling distractions, forgetting stuff, feeling guilty about it all. And I think that's the biggest thing. And it's probably the biggest, or it's the biggest reason that I wrote my book. And we're going to talk about ADHD in real big detail when you talk about the Chuck Banks experience, whatever. But anyway, battling those aspects and feeling guilty about it all is very important. And the reason I did this was because I've had family members, I've had former acquaintances that might consider me a narcissist. Well, I'm not. And there's some key aspects with ADHD that may be similar to narcissism and those sorts of things. But anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. But here's the kicker on burnout with ADHD. We often don't realize we're burned out until we've already crashed. And I'm here to tell you, man, when you crash from ADHD burnout, it's like the biggest kick that you could ever experience. And I don't know, I'm a little bit speechless even talking about it, because when I talk about burnout, and again, I talk about the dark side of ADHD as well in that book. And I'm here to tell you, man, when you hit that burnout and you don't realize it and you're crashing, it can affect every bit of your life around you, and that's pretty important. So my experience here, again, I don't miss deadlines. I do overcommit. I have a hard time saying no. Like, I had a gentleman say, "Hey, man, you're a yes man." Well, yeah, but there's a reason for that, and I'll talk about this neurological aspect and component a little bit later. But feeling ashamed about not being productive, hitting a wall. I look back at coaching, and coaching is really something that got me into education. And I had a wall a few times over the last 3 to 5 years, not just the health things that have taken place, but this hyper analyzing, what's taking place. And that was a big reason why I wrote Overthinker. But anyway, we'll just go over there. But it's just interesting anytime that anybody's going to look at that, and you look at when you hit the wall, when you have no more energy, when you have to tell your significant other, "Hey, man, I got to go lay down." Um, and then when you lay down, the brain doesn't shut off. And it's amazing that how many times you play the worst case scenario over and over and over into your head, and it just tackles you, man. And again, This is about trying to get past this burnout phase. Have I been able to get out of the, hitting the brick wall? Yes, but feeling, burned out on a lot of things. It's definitely important, to look at that, and to basically look at the outside realm of things, about why you're feeling that way. So, how do you recognize it sooner? This one's pretty important. Some signs of ADHD burnout. Okay, extreme mental exhaustion from masking. Um, Basically, whether it's going to work, putting on your happy face, and getting through the day. It's harder when you have ADHD. I'll tell you that. Can you imagine sitting in a classroom and you have this neurological aspect that's basically forcing you to mask and be something you're not, to sit still when you can't, and this masking thing eventually, and we'll get into that a little bit in more detail in another episode, but masking when you're not true to who you are, it's going to affect you, and it's going to affect you in a big way. Loss of interest in things that you usually love. I'm lucky. I'm lucky to have a great group of individuals at Fort Madison Community School District, and my wife having my back and my family having my back. But I've definitely lost a lot of interest on things I usually loved. In the form of even coaching, it became so intense, and that struggle that I had to kind of back away, and I thought that maybe my coaching days were over, and they weren't. Thank goodness. But I look back at the paranormal, man. I used to I've written a ton of books on the paranormal. Used to investigate it a lot, and I've lost my love for that, and it's really strange. Podcasting. I love to podcast and talk about complex topics and discuss those things, but I was burnt out. I had hit the wall. And here's a few things that you have to look at. Feeling emotionally numb or overly irritable. If you're feeling that, that is a sign. Okay, when fun becomes work, it's a sign that that you have to fix things. When I'm nearing burnout, I know that I'll have blow ups, whether it's at home or at work, and I have an example. It was several years back, and I was coaching up the offensive line, and the head coach Randy Hoffman came over, and he kind of blew up, and he, the thing that really set me off on that particular component is he says, "Why are you so sensitive?" And that's something that you don't say anytime that you're masking so much and you're trying to push that away, and I became overly irritable that day. Paralysis when faced with basic tasks. Even having the energy to go out and mow the lawn sometimes. Even the ability to even get up and go to work sometimes, when you hit that burnout. Self-criticism or shame spirals. I do that all the time. I am a people-pleasing person, okay? And it's not because I had a rough childhood, because I had a beautiful childhood. I'm always asking, "Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And this, that, and the other, and that upsets my wife, but that's who I am, man. And then I'll sit and sulk. Self-criticism, shame. It definitely hits in. Burnout for us often masquerades as I'm just bad at life, but it's not you. It's your brain saying you've hit your capacity. And when you hit that capacity, there's nothing that's going to shift, out of that rut other than resting, sleeping, kind of just totally shutting down. And I've done that. I not only have I done that with my podcasting, but I've done that with life sometimes. And those are just key aspects that you have to look at here. So, recovery and prevention tips. Here's a few. Again, here's what's helped me and what might help you too when you're nearing that burnout mode, especially if you suffer from adult ADHD. Radical rest. Okay, it's not just sleep, but permission to truly unplug without guilt. to be able to totally shut down, to get rid of the phones, to get rid of all of the distractions, even your family members. I would say the only when I hit that radical rest point, the only thing that's going to make me happy is probably my beagle and some, I don't know, some green noise in the background. Low stimulation days, no podcasts, right? No tasks, just quiet. You. Now, I understand that sometimes, like normal people are like, come on, man, you gotta get your ass up and you got to fight through. Well, I'm here to tell you, man, that it definitely affects. It definitely affects you. What you need low stimulation days, especially if you're nearing that burnout phase. Body doubling. Uh, when I need to restart gently. Now, body doubling is something pretty interesting. It's an aspect to where you can talk to somebody either on the phone. You can get through something like this. You can actually have your buddy or your significant other get in the room, and you don't even have to say anything. It's just that aspect of body doubling to make sure, hey man, you're okay. Done is enough mindset. Perfection is burnout fuel. You gotta say, hey man, enough's enough. Done is enough mindset. I got to get rid of this aspect. I've got to take a break. And when you've hit that wall, you just have to do it. Community, talking to others who get it. There's going to be a lot of people in your life, especially if you suffer from this particular neurological disorder, that are going to say, "Man, you're just weird," or they're not going to understand, what your brain's going through when you're kind of fighting through, this recovery aspect. And you have to give yourself permission. You know what? I'm going to give myself permission to recover from this burnout feeling that I'm getting, especially when you have ADHD. So community is very, very, very important. Okay. Most importantly, you got to let go of the hustle guilt. Okay. Sometimes when you got to shut off, you got to say, hey, you know what? It's enough to sit and relax. I've got to do this in order for me to give to this beautiful thing called life. It's just important. Okay. You're allowed to rest even when the dishes aren't done, unless your wife or your significant other is kind of yelling at you because, never mind. I'm just messing with you. If ADHD burnout has been kicking your butt lately, you're not alone and you're not broken. Your brain is doing the best it can. And I think that's important to throw out there that, hey, uh, I'm having some difficulty here. I'm going to give myself permission to basically kind of chill out and to be able to come through that. And you have to understand that it's not you that's broken, and it's something going on in your brain right now. Thanks for being here, on the Chuck Banks Experience discussing ADHD and me. If this helped you feel seen, share it with someone else who might be running on empty. And if you've got burnout hacks that work for you, send them my way. And I'd love to discuss these in a future episode. And again, just kind of throwing this out here, this thing called ADHD. I think it's important that you have to own your own journey, and especially when you're undiagnosed and you realize that, hey man, this is what's going on with my brain, and I'm gonna give myself permission to get through that. Living with ADHD in adulthood is not a one-size-fits-all experience. It is a journey marked by challenges that are often invisible to others. Difficulty focusing, emotional dysregulation, time blindness, and exhausting effort of masking are all emphasis when we look at this. Yet within this struggle lies a deep well of strength, adaptability, and creativity that many adults with ADHD come to discover only after years of misunderstanding themselves. And this is something, I've the last 4 or 5 years, I've done an immense amount of research, trying to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And when I realized that it's not me, it's my brain and how I'm going to interact. And to be honest with you, since my stroke, it's even been worse, as far as time blindness and that sort of stuff. But it's definitely interesting. We've explored how the adult ADHD experience intersects with daily life, affecting work, relationships, mental health, and self-worth. We've examined the importance of diagnosis and the complexity of treatment plans that include medication therapy, lifestyle changes, and support systems. Now, I have not basically reached out and discussed this with a licensed provider yet, but it's something that I plan on doing is to look at therapy and try to create a lifestyle change that's going to be positive, to be able to not only keep me around, but to do so in a meaningful way. Perhaps the most important shift occurs when individuals move from simply coping to embracing their neurodivergence. Dude, we're freaking superheroes and we don't even realize it yet. Coping at its best is not just surviving, but learning how to thrive with the brain you have. Creating systems that honor your attention span, leveraging hyper focus constructively. And when I talk about hyper focus, when I write and when I'm really into that mode of getting books out there, I hyper focused almost to a point to where I have no idea what's going on around my body, to be honest with you. So, how to thrive what you have, okay, within your brain. Creating systems that honor your attention span, leveraging hyperfocus again constructively, and developing radical self compassion in a world that often demands conformity. Screw that, man. I'm done masking. I'm done being somebody that I've portrayed out there. I've got to embrace my neurodivergence in a way that's going to be meaningful to my life. ADHD is not a flaw in character or a deficit in willpower. It is a neurological difference that requires understanding, flexibility, and innovation. That's going to be extremely important, anytime that you're suffering from this aspect of your life. And I just hope, I really hope that I've struck a nerve here or a chord, so people kind of understand it. We're different, but it doesn't mean that we're not capable of basically living a full and complete life. Um, Again, my name is Chuck Banks, Chuck Banks Experience. I have a book called The Dog Mentality, The Story of Mediocrity Becoming Elite. I have 10 or 15 copies of that available. If you'd like it, $15 signed or $20 mailed to you signed. Also, the new book, if you want to pre-order that, email me, coachingcultureandathletics@gmail.com. That's coachingcultureandathletics@gmail.com. Join me and maybe a host for softball and baseball this coming week on Dog Pound Radio. Again, if you're looking to basically have good content and what I'm asking for is I'm asking for mere donations to keep this thing a rolling. Not only the Dog Pound Radio, but the Chuck Banks Experience as well.